Creative Babble.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
America is fascinated with paternity tests. In fact, there was a whole TV show dedicated to this.
Comes to 2-year-old Dayton. D, you are not the father.
Paternity disputes aren't rare. In fact, DNA testing labs in the U.S. process over 300,000 paternity tests every year. And here's the kicker. In about 1 out of every 4 cases, the man tested turns out to not be the biological father. Most of these disputes are handled quietly through child support cases or administrative hearings. A swab, a test, and a result. No drama, no headlines. That's what makes the Laura Owens case so unusual. This wasn't just a paternity question, it became a sprawling legal battle filled with altered documents, conflicting timelines, and felony charges. In a world where DNA tests usually settle facts in days, this one dragged on for over a year, and instead of answers, it left a trail of lies. I've received many emails and DMs from listeners blown away by this case. Some listeners are playing armchair psychologists and diagnosing Laura Owens with factitious disorder, which is similar to Munchausen by proxy. Instead of harming someone else to get attention, they believe Laura is faking pregnancies to lure guys like Clayton Echard. Whatever the case may be, this paternity case was not simple. It dragged on for months, wasting taxpayer dollars, and it's a slap in the face for women who have experienced real miscarriages or are having trouble getting pregnant. In today's episode, the internet investigators get rewarded handsomely, and Laura's deception backfires spectacularly. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Let's go back to the courtroom.
After you had the third test that was positive with him, did he send you an email at some point to talk about the situation?
Yes.
And did you have conversations with him where he told you that he thought you were pregnant?
Yes.
Is that verbal conversations or text or email or all three?
All three.
Okay. Moving right along, after you got this email on June 21st, what happened next in terms of your proceeding to verify the pregnancy?
I took additional tests.
Did you have a sonogram done in California?
Yes, I did.
And where was that done?
Planned Parenthood.
But there's a problem. Planned Parenthood says that they have no record of her visit.
And you understand, and I'm sure Mr. Woodnick will ask you about this, Planned Parenthood has not been able to verify that you were ever seen there. You understand that?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes. I went under a fake name when I went there.
Okay. And you had a sonogram done. Did you ever present that sonogram as evidence in any court proceeding anywhere?
No.
We have obviously presented it in this case, but you've admitted already that you changed the name at the top or the location. Did you change the name at the top of the sonogram?
Of the location, yes.
Why did you do that?
I changed it because Mr. Echard was being threatening towards me, and I didn't want him to know where I had gone and try to track down my providers.
After the sonogram in California, around July 23rd, did something happen in terms of you passing tissue or anything like that?
Yes.
Can you explain briefly what happened on July 23rd?
Yeah. I wasn't having any symptoms at all, but I did pass tissue that looked like it could potentially be miscarriage tissue, but I wasn't sure.
Reminder, in a previous episode, we heard Laura argue in court that she was 6 months pregnant. But now it turns out that she miscarried 4 months earlier.
Did you seek any medical care after July 23rd, after the tissue passed?
Yes.
Related to that?
Yes.
What did you do?
I texted a hotline for pregnancy and miscarriage questions, and I also did an appointment with the telemedicine doctor as well.
What information did they give you, if any?
They told me that I needed to monitor myself, but that they felt like unless I had more symptoms, I didn't need to worry that it was a miscarriage.
Hold on. So she passes tissue. She suspects of having a miscarriage with twins at the end of the first trimester, and she calls a hotline? I mean, I don't know. It feels like this is more of an emergency room situation.
After you learned that you were no longer pregnant November 14th, did you file anything further in this case?
No. I wanted to dismiss the case. I wanted to go over the test results.
Did you know how to dismiss the case?
No.
So you were making an effort to let Clayton know that you thought the pregnancy was probably ending badly and you wanted to drop the case.
Objection leading. Sustained.
All right. Clayton's Exhibit 31 is appears to be an email from you to Clayton. It says ultrasound video proof. Clayton, here is my 100 billion% real ultrasound video. Do you recognize that?
It's not an email that I sent, but I've seen it since.
Laura, assuming that what we're looking at here is meant to be an email from you, did you send this to Clayton?
I did not.
Did you ever send Clayton an email with a ultrasound video attached to it?
I did not.
Do you have any idea why Clayton would think that you sent him an email like this?
Well, yeah, that has my signature on it.
Well, that's a fair statement. But you didn't send this. Do you know who did?
I have my suspicions, but I can't be.
No, let's hear it. I'd like to hear it.
I have a suspicion that an ex of mine sent this to Clayton.
Who? Which ex?
Greg Gillespie.
Is he in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think Greg Gillespie sent this?
Because Greg has hacked my email before and has admitted to hacking other people's emails.
Okay. So you're obviously under oath, under penalty of perjury. You did not send that email and you don't know who did.
Correct.
For the last time, were you pregnant with Clayton?
Yes.
Did you think that you were pregnant with Clayton?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to think that you weren't when you filed this case?
No.
Did you lie about being pregnant with Clayton?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You know, because people say, oh, that image is someone else hacked my account. She keeps on claiming people hack her account. But like we have audio, video. I mean, yeah, you can't get more information. That just shows she's absolutely lying.
Then it was Clayton's attorney's turn to do cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Owens.
Good morning.
You understand that you're currently under oath and must testify truthfully today, correct?
Correct.
And you understand the difference between the truth and the lie, right?
Obviously, yes.
And you would agree with me that fabricating or doctoring evidence is dishonest and unreasonable behavior, right?
Right.
And you're aware that lying under oath is a crime in the state of Arizona, correct?
Correct.
The attorney reminds Laura Owens that this isn't their first time facing off in court. She had already cross-examined her once before, during the injunction hearing back in November 2nd, 2023.
And during this hearing, you'd recall that I gave you the opportunity to correct the record and come clean about any false information or testimony you may have provided, right?
Right.
And you told me you had nothing to correct, right?
Correct.
And then you proceeded to lie to the court.
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You testified that you were 100% pregnant on November 2nd, correct?
Correct.
And you testified that you were 24 weeks pregnant specifically.
Correct.
I'd like you to take a look at your Exhibit A11, please. Ms. Owens, this appointment that you attended at MomDoc on November 14th of 2023 was 12 days after I cross-examined you, right?
Correct.
And during that cross-examination, I pointed out that you had no legitimate medical records to support the pregnancy, right?
I mean, you said that, but I don't agree with it. No.
At this appointment, Ms. Owens, it was confirmed that you were not pregnant, correct?
Correct.
Then Clayton's attorney asked Laura to testify about the ovarian cancer claims.
Ms. Owens, you also failed to tell me that in 2016, Doctors Chan and Yi diagnosed you with cancer and apparently removed one of your ovaries.
They did not.
Okay. So as you sit here today, you're denying that that happened.
I will absolutely deny that that happened.
The attorney asked Laura about getting an ultrasound at Planned Parenthood.
You claim that you had an alleged ultrasound at Planned Parenthood in Southern California, correct?
Correct.
And while being examined by your attorney, Mr. Gingras, you said that you went to Planned Parenthood under a fake name, right?
Right.
But you didn't bother to provide our office with the alleged name that you went to Planned Parenthood under, right?
Right.
And you knew that we were seeking your records from Planned Parenthood specifically because of the alleged ultrasound that you had there, right?
Right.
So wouldn't it have made sense for you to provide our office with a copy or the name that you allegedly went to Planned Parenthood under?
I felt like the whole purpose of going to Planned Parenthood is to remain anonymous, and that's one of my protections.
Okay. I want you to take a look at Exhibit 28. Is this a true and accurate picture of the ultrasound you claim you received at Planned Parenthood in California in July of 2023?
That looks like it, yes.
And Ms. Owens, this ultrasound image does not say Planned Parenthood. It says SMIL, which I'll call SMILE for purposes of court today, correct?
Correct.
And in your deposition, you admitted you altered this ultrasound picture to say SMILE instead of Planned Parenthood, right?
Correct.
And you admitted in your deposition to altering this picture on the Adobe Acrobat program at your house, right?
Correct.
During cross-examination, the attorney zeroes in on one of the most critical details, the ultrasound date. Laura had previously testified that the date on the image, July 7th, 2023, was accurate and unedited. But under pressure, she admits that wasn't true.
But you later admit that you lied about this July 7th ultrasound date, right?
Correct.
So I want to get this straight, Ms. Owens. You initially claimed you had an ultrasound at Planned Parenthood on July 7th, which you doctored to say it was from SMILE, right?
Correct. Correct.
So you changed the date on the ultrasound from July 2nd to July 7th, correct?
Correct.
And you utilized this altered or fake ultrasound to try to convince Mr. Echard and the court and the media that you were pregnant with Mr. Echard's twins.
This was never submitted to the court.
You're aware that Planned Parenthood has no record of an ultrasound for you, correct?
Under my real name, yes, I'm more.
And again, we've established you didn't provide our office with the name of that you allegedly went to Planned Parenthood under, correct?
Correct.
Now the attorney hones in on the supposed miscarriage.
I'd like to go back to the 2 stacks you passed. So again, in your deposition, you claimed you passed them in September or October, right?
Yes.
But then you changed the date and claimed that you passed these 2 stacks on July 23rd of 2023, right?
Right.
So wouldn't you agree with me that for someone who has had miscarriages in the past and who has an alleged high-risk pregnancy, it would be prudent to attend an in-person appointment shortly after passing 2 stacks?
Well, that's why I asked the doctors online.
These are yes or no questions. I see you're looking at your attorney, but you need to look at the question for me. Ms. Owens, you had 4 appointments scheduled with Dr. McCool that you never attended, right?
Correct.
And you intentionally failed to attend those appointments because all of those appointments would have resulted in a medical record that stated you were not pregnant, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained. To the form of the question, but you can ask the question in a different way.
I'll move on, Your Honor.
Another suspicious part of Laura's story to me is the amount of different clinics and doctors' offices that she allegedly visits. Why does she visit so many different gynecologists? Clayton's attorney is trying to get her to admit that she lied under oath.
You also testified on November 2nd, unequivocally, that your OBGYNs were Dr. McCool and Dr. Higley, right?
Right.
In fact, you went so far as to state that your main OBGYN is the perinatalist, Dr. McCool, right?
Correct.
You further testified on November 2nd that you had last seen Dr. Higley on last Friday, right?
Right.
You lied to the court when you made those statements.
I had the appointment scheduled, which you guys have.
Yes or no questions.
I know, but it needs to be answered. Correct. It needs to be answered. I had an appointment scheduled with him that I did not attend, but I did have an appointment scheduled.
Okay, so when you say you were seen by a doctor, that's not the same as having an appointment scheduled, correct?
Correct.
So we would agree that you were dishonest when you said you were physically seen by Dr. Higley the Friday before the November 2nd hearing.
Correct. That's a very minor thing.
A very minor thing called perjury.
Ms. Owens, you've never been seen by Dr. McCool or Dr. Higley for any medical appointment, correct?
Correct.
And the records from Dr. McCool's office indicate that you made 4 appointments that you never attended, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Owens, you recognize you've been accused of faking records in this case, right?
Yes.
And you expect the court to accept a picture of a portion of an alleged record?
You guys got the results yourselves, so
these are yes or no questions.
That's not fair.
You have an opportunity to conduct redirect examination, and you can elaborate then. For someone who's been involved in court cases nonstop since at least 2016.
You know what? That's not accurate. I have not been involved nonstop since 2016.
I'm going to stop the clock for a moment, and I'm going to remind the parties. Counsel, you ask a question. Ma'am, you answer the question. Otherwise, we move into a different area that I don't think anyone wants to go into. Counsel, resume.
And between 2014 and the present, you have alleged that you were pregnant by 4 different men, correct?
Correct.
And all 4 of those men told you, one way or another, that they believed you fabricated those pregnancies, right?
The first was not so specific about that.
And 3 of them are here today, right?
Correct.
And they also believe that you doctored medical records, right?
Objection, foundation.
Sustained.
I'll move on, Your Honor. Ms. Owens, I want to give you one more opportunity. The media is here. You know that this case has gone viral. You have an opportunity right now to come clean and start fresh. So I'm going to ask you one final time. You were never pregnant by Clayton Echard, correct?
That is absolutely incorrect.
Then Clayton did a rapid-fire testimony of his side of the story, and then they ran out of time before being able to call the other 2 men accusing Laura.
So at this time, what the court's going to do is I'll take this under advisement. What that means is I'm going to go back, I'm going to review the notes that I took today, I'm going to review the evidence that was admitted to the court, and then everyone will receive my order in writing.
1 week later, Judge Mata rules in favor of Clayton, saying that Laura had no basis for her petition of paternity. She said Laura owed Clayton $150,000 in court fees. And get this, she was handing over the case to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office to further investigate her pattern of similar behavior. In other words, a criminal investigation. So that's it, right? Case closed? Come on. Of course not. When we come back from the break, Laura Owens' luck is about to run out.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hey guys, have you heard of Gold Belly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
You knew Laura Owens and her attorney were not just going to leave it there, pay the fees, and move on, right? Here's Dave Neal.
Since then, she filed an appeal, which goes in front of 3 judges. She lost the appeal, completely lost it, and the court fees for the appeal is like another $38,000. And the money's going to start, getting charged interest, and she wants to take it to the Supreme Court of Arizona and eventually the United States Supreme Court. But she's flat out wrong. Her lawyer's batshit crazy. He threatened to sue me all that money. He also threatened me by, he would email me privately screen grabs of lawyers that he made go homeless, which, as it turns out, he had nothing to do with. One lawyer died, and he claimed it was because he went homeless because I sued him into oblivion and all these things.
You have to ask yourself, why would any lawyer represent Laura Owens when it's so blatantly obvious that she's lying? What could he possibly get out of this? Was it her money? Was it fame? Here's reporter Megan Fox talking about David Gingras' YouTube channel.
Her lawyer immediately started advising her publicly to do things to keep him from ever getting the money, like declaring bankruptcy, moving assets around.
Here's a clip.
People are asking, when are you going to pay Clayton? Are you going to pay Clayton? I hope that you never pay Clayton.
His YouTube channel looks like wallpaper filled with clickbait thumbnails.
It's Tuesday, April 1st, ladies and gentlemen, and I am David. You are...
Laura.
And we are here since it's April 1st.
Gingras typically starts his videos in his office with his cats. Sometimes he's dressed as Santa. Sometimes he's dressed as a construction worker. And he always plays his own intro song, usually Third Eye Blind or Nickelback. In this one, he's talking with Laura about the appeal being denied. Though, to be honest, Laura doesn't get to say much during these videos.
People think he's going to put you in jail. We don't do that in America. If you have millions of dollars stashed away, he can go look for it. If you don't, he ain't getting nothing. And you could file bankruptcy, or you could just not. But either way, there's no legal requirement for you to post a bond at any part of this. All that means is he can go after you and collect. But if you don't have the money to be collected because of well, then guess what? You get blood from a stone, or you don't.
He did this in public, and we told him at the time, David, you cannot do this. What you're doing is illegal. What you're telling her to do is illegal, and you're going to get her in more trouble. This was one of the things that we told David Gingras over and over and over again during the course of his involvement. We kept saying, Laura deserves a defense attorney, for sure. She deserves one who will keep her out of trouble, and you are leading her directly into trouble. It is his fault that she has gone so far over the edge. He should have made her take a deal in the beginning, which was, I will write a letter of apology, and I will pay him his legal expenses, and we will move on. That would have solved all of this.
But nothing about this case was easy or typical. Even the judge presiding over this case filed a bar complaint against Laura's attorney, David Gingras. Let me read you the judge's bar complaint letter. During the petitioner's cross-examination, Mr. Gingras appeared to be signaling his clients with sweeping arm movements, including making ends with his arms and sweeping his arms along the front of his body. Gingras also filed a notice for change of judge because Judge Mata's father was in attendance. He wrote, quote, "Was my case fairly decided based on the evidence, or that Judge Mata simply trying to impress her father? Look at me, Daddy. I'm a real judge now. Just watch me destroy a young woman's life because the other party was on The Bachelor. Hee hee," unquote. Which brings me back to my call with David Gingras.
Due to a judge a trial judge, Julie Mata, who I believe broke the law and had her dad sitting in the court. Look at me, look, Dad, look, watch me do my thing.
Is this the same judge that filed a bar complaint against you?
Yes, three months after the trial, and after I submitted a complaint to the Judicial Conduct Commission against her, she submitted a bar complaint against me. My bar complaint is still pending. The bar has not done anything with it. They've not found it to be correct or dismissed it. It's just hanging out there. But Javier, I absolutely stand by what I said against the judge. I believe, I don't know because I wasn't there. Nobody knows, but I know for a fact that the judge made findings against Laura based on things that were not at trial. They were on social media. So you tell me, it's either the judge looked at social media or she had a magical talking unicorn who flew in the window and whispered in her ear and said, Judge, you should make this finding without any evidence.
Honestly, this feels like misdirection. I've read through a lot of the text messages and it almost seems like extortion. Like, I'm going to have the baby, or I need you to do this, or else I'm going to do that.
Yeah, that is fair game for Laura to respond to.
So she could talk about that? All right.
Sure.
But I mean, when you take all those text messages into account and the shifting of the belly in court and stuff like that, I mean, did you ever struggle with your client being a credible,
Not well, with regard to the belly, I mean, she took videos of her belly the next day after court. That's another thing that I would characterize that as a lie from Woodnick, that he lied to the court about her wearing a prosthetic belly. He had no basis to say that. And we have a video of her bare belly the next day after that.
But again, why would she have a pregnancy belly in November if she miscarried in July? And were you surprised by the outcome of the case?
Only, yes. Was I surprised? Yes.
Yeah, I guess you always want to win, right?
No. I want the facts to come out correctly, and I want the law to be followed correctly. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and I've had lots of cases where opposing parties bring an allegation and then drop it for whatever reason, like Laura tried to do here. She brought an allegation and then she dropped it. I've never once seen a judge ever say, hey, you're dropping your allegation. The other side's entitled to keep litigating to try to figure out, did you bring the allegation in good faith or not? That is not what should have happened here.
David Gingras and I spoke for 40 minutes. It was finally time to see if he would allow me to talk with Laura.
I mean, look, where I'm looking at this from is, if you want to let her tell her side of the story, and if you're willing to let her say whatever she has to say, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I will challenge her, right? Like, that's part of my job, right? Like, I will ask tough questions. It's not going to be like a softball interview or anything like that. Because there's some serious stuff happening. I just want to set that expectation. I'm not going to, I'm not doing the Laura show. You know what I mean?
No. I appreciate you saying that. And it's completely fair. The caveat with that is, the tough questions, but I can't let her get into things. We have this open criminal investigation, right? Rachel Mitchell and the county attorney, she is the county attorney, Rachel Mitchell. At some point, even though I'm not Laura's criminal defense lawyer and I will not be her criminal defense lawyer, I'm not a criminal defense lawyer, so I have no involvement in any of that.
Right.
But as a lawyer, I know that there are things I can't let her get into. So if you understand that,
as long as she knows that, as long as she knows what she can and can't talk about, I mean, I'd be more than happy to ask her a question and then she just says, I can't answer. Right.
Yeah. Well, hey, Javier, if you're willing to be neutral and listen to Laura and let her tell her side of the story, I'm happy to let her.
I just don't have a dog in the fight. You know what I mean? So like, I definitely want, definitely want to talk to her if she feels like whatever I'm asking her could jeopardize the potential criminal case. Gingras feels that history will not treat Clayton kindly.
From my perspective, it's really bad for Clayton. He's using this as a way to increase his relevance. I don't know that. That's what Laura's side of the story is, but time will tell. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in the end.
Yeah. And in the end, things weren't so great for Laura Owens. On May 6, 2025, just days after my phone call with Laura Owens' former attorney David Gingras, everything changed. Laura Owens was indicted on 7 felony counts. 1 count of fraudulent schemes and artifice. 1 count on fraudulent schemes, a Class 2 felony. The most serious charge on the list. Prosecutors say that Laura knowingly filed the false paternity case, submitted fake documents, and tried to manipulate the legal system for personal gain. Then came the forgery charges, a Class 4 felony. Remember the ultrasound that Laura submitted to the court? The one that she admitted she altered? Well, that's forgery. She's also facing 4 counts of perjury for allegedly lying under oath in depositions, affidavits, and hearings. At different points, Laura claimed to be pregnant, miscarried, and pregnant again, all under penalty of perjury. And finally, 1 count of tampering with physical evidence, tied to her altering of fake medical records during the case. In short, prosecutors believed that this wasn't just a messy legal dispute. They say that this was a calculated scheme built on lies, forged documents, and a pregnancy that never existed. So that's why she never called me back. Let's just say Clayton was elated.
Justice is finally served. I am absolutely amped to share this news with you all that today, as of I think 20 minutes ago, Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell has announced the indictment of Laura Michelle Owens on felony charges related to the paternity scheme. 1 count of fraudulent schemes, a Class 2 felony, 1 count of forgery, a Class 4 felony, 4 counts of perjury, a Class 4 felony, and 1 count of tampering with physical evidence, a Class 6 felony. This nightmare is over. I am so ready to not have to think about this anymore.
Here's reporter Megan Fox again. In your opinion, the indictment took too long, right?
It did.
Yeah. But when it came down, what was your reaction? What was the reaction of the community?
I was screaming. It's live. We broke the news live and we were over the moon. I mean, I was shocked. I knew it was a good possibility that she was going to be charged with something. But when 7 counts came down, including fraudulent scheming, and which was a big one. That's a what was it? A level 2 felony. That's a big one. That comes with big time jail.
Yeah. The lower the felony,
the lower the number, the higher
severe.
the more severe it is. But 7 felonies, including tampering with evidence, which is what the judge said. I loved that made it in there too, because Judge Mata saw it. She noticed it. She said she has tampered with evidence. That's a crime. Lots of things she did were a crime. I was blown away by the 7 counts. I did not expect it to be that much. And I also didn't expect it to be that serious. I thought if they were going to go after her, they'd go after her for a few counts of perjury, make an example out of her, give her some community service. I think she's facing real jail time. And I think there will be more counts added.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And to think, maybe the indictment seems like it's the end, but maybe we're just halfway through.
Oh, I think we're halfway through. She's going to go to trial. She's going to plead not guilty because everything we know about Laura, that we've learned about Laura, I feel like I know her very, very well at this point. She cannot admit any responsibility or guilt. It's just something in her refuses to say, I did this, or I was in a bad place. She can't even make an excuse. We've given her so many outs. We've said, Laura, just say, I was in a bad place. My mental health was not well. I'm going to get the help I need and then disappear. Okay. Everyone would forgive her. Everyone would move on. But she can't.
Laura's trial is scheduled for October 23rd, 2025. This insanely complicated story is not over. I've been thinking about this story for a while now. I've been following it almost the entire time. And I keep coming back to the same question. Why? So what do you think her motivation was? Was it attention? Was it money? Was it just a thrill of it? Like, what? Well, now that you've been through hell and back, like, what do you think?
She likes tall guys. These are each guys like 6'4", 6. These are big guys. There's more to the story, but Mike, like, prestigious, good looking, tall. Maybe she could see a future with him. Same with Greg. I think with Clayton, I think it was just trying to coerce this guy to continue to date her long enough that he actually did knock her up. I honestly don't know, but I do know she never intended for this to be public. She just was trying to get enough attention to the gossip rags to make him pay the price for ditching her.
I also asked reporter Megan Fox, what's her motivation?
Who knows? I do think that coming from the extremely wealthy family that she comes from with a lot of privilege, right? I think that she got very used to growing up getting everything she wanted, being told that she was capable of everything, even things that she's not good at. And I think that she thinks she's entitled to a 6'3" man, most likely an athlete. If you notice, all three of the men that she did this to are all 6'3". They're all former athletes. You know, she has a type, and she thinks she's entitled to that. And when she's told no, she loses it.
My producer, Mackenzie Ames, brought up a really sad point. What if this was just her way of finding someone to love her? Laura never seemed to want anything in the beginning except for these men to date her. Whether you feel bad for her or not, I do know one thing. These types of lies and schemes and courtroom theatrics makes it really hard for real victims, people who are pregnant and left behind with no help, to be believed. In this way, Laura isn't doing herself or any other victims any favors. It takes generations of people, especially women, fighting to be treated fairly and for their voices to be heard. And this wild story of fake bellies and celebrating on Instagram is just making that fight even harder. But like I said, I'll let you know when something develops in this case. I always find it interesting when people like you who are just sitting at home, you're just regular, everyday people who get fixated on a story and solve a case. I think those are my favorite stories, and this is a prime example of that. Last time I promised that I was going to read reviews or comments left on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I encourage you, if you enjoy this show, please leave a review or a comment on Spotify. Engaging with the podcast in this kind of way actually shows a platform that people want to listen to it, and it's more likely to recommend Pretend to other listeners. Like this one from Kia Carissima. It's pretty stunning that she has been able to make so much trouble for these men about a situation that could easily be proven with a false paternity test. Leslie Seminole said, the guy before him lost out on a lot, so now he's a big part of it. Other guys just paid quickly to get out of the trouble that she's caused them. A lot of it happened during the Me Too movement. She took advantage of that. DH says, I just have one question. Is this how this woman gets dates? Because it appears that she tells them that she's pregnant, and the way that she's going to settle things is for them to date her and care about her. I find that extremely weird. An unusual way to date and become intimate with someone. Javier, where do you find these weirdos? That's a good question. I'm kind of like a weirdo magnet. All right, that's it for today. Today's episode was written by me and Mackenzie Ames. And it was also edited by yours truly. All right, we'll be back with a brand new episode next week. Stay tuned.
Creative Babble.